So just a quick background on Leonora Carrington, who painted this. She is, let me show you her. She was born in London, but she also painted that painting. She ended up settling in Mexico, and in fact there's a museum of her. And here's the museum. So you can see it's got a big sculpture and some other sculptures. There's that deer head, which was in the green tea thing as well. And also what's interesting too about this museum is it kind of looks like a castle. Leonora Carrington died at age 94 in 2011, and the second half of her life was quite happy. The museum of her works opened in 2018, but the first part of her life was quite a bit more chaotic. I found this article in El País from 2017 that gave a little bit of her biography. There she is in 2007. What happened that was so crazy? The Surrealists all kind of knew each other. All three artists in this video, Carrington, Ernst, and Bardo, did know each other. In fact, Carrington was a lover of Max Ernst. Apparently they moved to a cottage and they spent time painting and supporting each other. She did this famous work, The Inn of the Dawn Horse. But then in World War I, Germany invaded France, and the French government arrested Ernst because they thought he was a hostile alien. And then he was arrested when Germany occupied France. He was arrested by the Germans, by the Nazis, for his degenerate art and taken back to Germany. So there are actually different stories about why she ended up going to Spain, different stories on the internet. Some say, this one says she went to help get Ernst released. Others that she went because he escaped, went to the U.S., left her behind, and so she went to try to get a change of scenery. But they do all agree that while she was in Spain, she was committed to an asylum, a mental asylum. She was there for about 6 months, and the accounts all agree that it was a pretty difficult experience. And she also wrote about it later as well. After she got out of the institution, she was sent by train with a guard to look after her to Lisbon, Portugal. Maybe her family was sending her to South Africa. That's what one account said. But she managed to shake her guard and went to the Mexican embassy, where she married this gentleman here, Renato Leduc. Internet accounts vary. Some say Leduc was a poet and ambassador. Some say he was a poet and secretary at the Mexican embassy. But in any case, they traveled together to New York and then to Mexico. Eventually, she separated or divorced from Leduc and married this gentleman here, Weiss, and had 2 sons and continued her painting and writing career. So this sculpture by Max Ernst was made in 1967. I looked everywhere to find out where it exactly is, because many of you mentioned that it looked like it was just out somewhere kind of alone. It turns out that the translation for the title is the teaching staff for a school of murderers. And it's made in stone, and it was made in 1967 by Max Ernst, who's a Dadaist. I could find out very little about it, except apparently it was more of a social commentary on militarism. This was a real hard one to pin down. As far as the history of it, I could not find anything except this photo about where this is right now. But a bronze copy of it did travel to New York in 2017. And here's the bronze copy of it. In the little blurb underneath this exhibition, they talk about how the middle guy is named Big Brother from George Orwell's famed dystopian novel 1984, which was published in 1949. And finally, we have this painting, The Juggler by Remedios Bardo. One interesting thing was, if you look, I read about it, if you look at the clothing here, there's sort of a texture, and up here, and the way they got that was a technique called dyscalcomania, where you take aluminum foil, crumpled up aluminum foil or paper, and press it in to get that texturing. Apparently that was a thing with Surrealists. So Remedios Bardo was born in Spain, and she has a crazy story if you're looking for an interesting biography. This is her in 1959. She was born in Spain, and eventually, this is so interesting, I don't know a lot about her, this is just Wikipedia, but in 1937 she met political activist Esteban Frances and left her husband behind to fight in the Spanish Civil War. Then she moved back to Paris, lived in poverty in Paris. At the beginning of World War II, her lover was imprisoned by the French government for his political beliefs, and she was also imprisoned for a few days. And finally, in 1941, she escaped France, and eventually she made her way to Mexico, and that's where she settled as an artist.